Welcome to my Foundation series. Today we're going to go through something which may come as a shock. The event viewer, or event log as some like to call it. Yes, it's built into Windows. It's free, it's there, and nobody seems to use it. Horrified recently interviewing for new staff. Asked them, how do you find out when the errors are occurring on your Windows PC? And they don't know about the event log. I look at my current staff and ask them the same question. And they turn around and they say, event log, silly? That's where you go, the event log. And I think, yes, I'm proud of myself. So if you want to know why we use the event log and you want to see what you can get out of the event log and use it properly, stay tuned. Right, welcome to my test server. On this test server, you will notice I have the event log icon. From that event log icon, I've double clicked it, and here's the event viewer. The first thing anybody seems to want to do is they want to go down into here, Windows Logs, Application, and turn on a filter or change the view. They don't want to see this blue stuff, they want to see the red stuff or the yellow stuff. They want to see the stuff that's gone wrong. Now on this particular server, this is actually a virtual machine. It's one that I use for messing about, so there's going to be some errors. But what's the first thing they do is they actually cut out all the stuff they don't want to see. So they're reducing the number of things they're looking at, therefore feeling that they're going to come to a conclusion as to the problem sooner. One of the things that does is by removing the blue, which is informational, which is all the stuff that went correctly, you can actually be cutting out the stuff that you want to see. Let's think of an example. Somebody is remoting into this server from the internet and spiking the server with malware. They come in through remote desktop, and the remote desktop server successfully loads their printer drivers. So we see a TS entry in here somewhere that says successfully loaded the XPS driver, successfully loaded PDF or QPDF driver, or whatever it might be. It's a success. However, I don't allow RDP into my server. So why is it there in the first place? What's going on? I should be looking into that. And it was a blue thing, not a failure, because it was a success. What about if you successfully deleted a file? Fantastic, it's blue. Success, it was again a success story. But what if I didn't actually mean to delete that file? Or what if I triggered an event that deleted that file? Then maybe I didn't want to successfully delete that file. I actually want that file back. Alright, so if I want to, for instance, track a particular event ID, then I might go in and filter the current event log, and I might type in the event IDs here that I want to filter by, and then fair enough, I'm only going to see that event ID. But that's if I'm tracking for a particular issue. When we're malware tracking, we don't know what we're actually looking for. So I actually recommend you don't clear the event logs, and I recommend you look at everything. Now looking at this particular event log, what we've got is you've got your custom views, which I'm not using at the moment. I'm using just the plain vanilla views from Microsoft as intended. You've got the basic logs, which is applications, so anything that a program causes to go wrong or has go wrong. Security, events about logging in, logging off, various bits and pieces. Then you've got setup, which doesn't really get used that much, just Windows updates, things like that. System, things that went wrong with the actual system. Now this is where most people live. Most people don't go much further than that. They think if they can't find an error in here marked red, then it never happened. They forget about the fact that Microsoft provides a lot more event logs. Look at this. Nobody goes into these. Why? They're there for you to look at. A proper use of the event log would include going through all of these things as well, especially when it comes to malware, because you're looking for the unusual. You're looking for something that happened. One of the other things people forget to do is when they're going through this event log, they just go through yada, 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 not realizing that this time entry here, when this particular event occurred, if there's something in the system log that occurred at the same time, the two form both parts of the story. The other thing that people forget about is that if there's a workstation involved, there's an event log there that also forms part of the story. So when you're going to go through the event log, and I recommend with every malware hunt I've been on that I've always found something in the event log, you need to look at the event log at both ends to get both parts of the story, and you need to look at the event log as if it's a timeline in connection between application and system as a pair, not separate. They're not separate events occurring. It's one timeline. And you need to look at the blue and the yellow and the red. Okay, so looking through this application log, so this is programs that are triggering events, and we've got a lot of Microsoft SQL triggering here. If something tried to do an AD access, everything here looks blue. There doesn't seem to be too much. We've got a certificate problem maybe, nothing mega serious. SharePoint 3 is causing a problem. Not usually a serious thing, and I know what that error is. I've got some other stuff here, but what I'm really interested in is when there's been a problem. So if there's somebody has remoted in to hack my server and plant malware on my server, there will normally be a terminal server entry trying to map printers and drives and things like that. They're the things you're looking for. File access or programs that they've installed that have crashed. Performance libraries, not too worried about them. So I'm targeting and looking for particular things. You need to become familiar with a person's event log. You need to know, oh yeah, look, this error occurs every few minutes. This error here is to do with the backup and it's something I can ignore. This one's to do with the information store. It's a performance counter. Not so worried about it. You need to look for the unusual, not filter everything out, not just target the red, not just target the yellow. Red means bad, yellow means might be bad, blue means good. You need to see it as a story, because one event log entry and then followed by another event log entry could be related.
This episode of Mickey J. Whitehat brought to you by the Virus Doctor. Be sure to go and check him out. Ken Dwight, master of mystery here, unravels the mysteries. He brings to light all the ways you can conquer malware. He takes you through some easy steps. Those easy steps help you conquer malware quickly. So go to the website, The Virus Doctor. Check it out today. And if you use special coupon code MickeyJ15, you will get 15% off the course you choose. Thanks very much to The Virus Doctor for sponsoring this episode.
So when I go through the event logs, I normally start at application and I work backwards in time, because whatever event has occurred has likely just occurred. When I go through the events, I try and build a story so I know what's going on. So I know when Active Directory is doing its thing, or Exchange is doing a defrag, or the database is down for maybe backups, and I can know that each of the logs entries actually combine to tell that story of what's going on. And I'm looking for things in the story that don't fit, things that are not quite right. And that's how you find your malware services starting that shouldn't be there, or something that's triggering some other external connection that shouldn't be doing what it's doing. Now, application, I normally have that set so that I can trap about 100,000 records, and system the same. System is the actual computer system and services and things like that. It can also indicate when there's a failure. So here we go, straight away. I've got that I logged in at 6:06 with my terminal service printers. I tried to map my OneNote driver. The driver's unknown. Aha, someone's remoted to this server. Did they actually have permission? Now I can use 6:06 to go into the application log and see if anything happened at 6:06. I can build a story. Again, here's more printers trying to load. I can see group policies trying to load under my logon and things like that. Now that I know that that happened at 6:06 and I've got a bit of a story of what happened, and I'm looking through these logs and I can't see much else going on, now I can go to the security log and I can dig a bit deeper as to what occurred. From in the security log, I can find out the logon types. I'm looking here, it's a logon type 3. So I can see whether it's a network logon or whether it's a product logon like RAS or something like that, an SMTP logon, a local logon, an RDP logon, a network, simple text or complicated text logon. I can tell all this stuff about the type of logon and how it occurred. That information in context helps me build again that story. So you need to combine those three together. But now that I know that there's actually been a terminal server logon, I actually want to go down into the applications and services logs. I want to go one step level deeper. When you normally open that up, if I just minimize this, you're going to see your DFS replication tree, directory service and things like that. Expand Microsoft, expand Windows, and down here, depending on how old your server is, you're going to have terminal services gateway, and then you're going to have operational. Operational is where all the good stuff is. Now, operational is where you're going to see all the IP addresses and the workstation names, including local and remote users that are logging in. So this is how you can find out that person from Russia that connected in first time with the correct credentials. So it's blue, 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 because nothing went wrong. There's no error. There's no security flags. Came from a Russian address, because here's the IP addresses of all those remote desktop people. You can also do a similar thing with RAS and all those sorts of things. So what you want to do is you want to find the correct sub-level event log and move into operational and track your user that's logged in without permission. The other one I found that was really, really handy is the PowerShell one. I had a number of PowerShell scripts executed on a server without permission, and I was actually able to go into the event logs and I was able to read back the PowerShell. It actually told me what PowerShell was running. It gave me the code and I was able to see what they were up to. So these sub-level event logs are actually quite interesting and quite important. There's a lot of information stored in there. So those are the two key ones that I would go to. However, don't rule out all the others. Just like filtering by blue filters out all of the good stuff, you also want to know what the good stuff is in these other things. I have seen a file placed into a DFS tree that was not placed there by a user, and that caused an error. When I actually then found that file, it was a virus. Someone had got remote desktop access, they'd placed it into the DFS tree, and it tried to replicate the file, and the virus scanner stopped it. So I was able to then find another malware hacker. Directory services, seeing the condition of your Active Directory, it's defragging and things like that. DNS server, well, here we go, we got some problems, what's going on? So it's actually just an active, it's nothing too much to worry about, but you can actually see the health of what's going on there. File replication server, again, you can have a look at it. This one here, it looks like it's in a journal wrap error. Again, this is a virtual machine, so I'm not too worried, but I can see the condition and the health of this machine. Hardware events, in my case, nothing's happened. It's an Explorer. I don't sort of do much exploring from my server anyway. Key management service and things like that. Now, all of this forms an overall story. If you want to find out what's going on your server, who got in, how they got in, what they tweaked, what they played with, the answer is going to be here. Just a big word of warning though, with the security log, this log gets so big so quick, it is often overwritten. So what you're going to find is you need to get off your butt real quick, get into this log and maybe export it out. You want to actually make sure you save it out so it doesn't get overwritten and you don't lose valuable information. Especially if somebody comes in with Dharma or they're using some other ransomware and they get on the machine and you want to track where they came from and how they logged in and what account they used or what passwords they were trying to attempt and brute force. You want that information saved out. They can do millions of hits per hour trying to get in with different usernames, and unless you save this log out, it's all overwritten. It's all forgotten. So let's go into security, save it out. Let's have a look through system and application and build a story. Let's go through the sub-levels here, and then once you've convinced that you pretty much know what you need to target, you can then go through the other bits and pieces of the event log. I've often found really obscure things just by stepping one step at a time. So I found on one server where under the UAC, under operational, I actually caught a user from a remote site using a registry entry to try and kill UAC. And I actually found that information in this log. It's all there, it's just no one knows where to look for it. Again, you can go through the remote connection manager, you can go through the plug and play devices from remote. You can see little bits of information that build up the overall story about the person that's tried to come in. I can have a look in Task Scheduler and find out what tasks fired or what extra tasks got added or modified. I can go through all kinds of things here. I can see if the server's been forced to restart, maybe it's had Windows updates or whatever's happened with it. I can see all these little bits of these pieces here. One of the other ones I thought was a bit of a surprise is I found an offline file that was trying to synchronize to use my computer, my documents under my music, and inside that was an exe file that was a virus. I can see if somebody got through the NAP or network access protection. I can see if group policies failed to apply. So each one of these operational sub-levels contains a wealth of information. Information you miss out on if you filter all the blue stuff out. Let's actually go into this, filter this log, and let's tell it that we only want to see the information. So we're now seeing only the information. There's 7,528. Now let's clear that filter. Okay, there's 7,528. So there's no red stuff at all going on in this particular event log. So really, you're not going to find anything wrong. And if one of these happens to be that policy was delayed and we'll retry in 5 minutes, let's say, and that's an error condition, but it's blue because it's happy that it's going to retry in 5 minutes, you're not going to see it if you filter it out. Now, let's go to backup. Here we go. We're using an external third party on this one for backup, so there's nothing there. But again, you need to go down and go through each of these things. Once you've done that, I usually use Notepad. I'll go into a particular event log entry I'm interested in. I will open it up and I will then just copy that into Notepad. And I paste it into Notepad. I'm not too interested in the XML. XML is more for third-party tools that are going to read this, but I'll go in there, and quite often the event ID, that using Google, you'll find your answer. You'll know what's going on. It's a no-brainer, really. So I usually can string together a whole bunch of these things, save them all out later, and go through them. So I track a lot of malware just by using the event viewer. Of all things, something so basic, built into Windows. It tells you when tasks are firing, it tells you when services are stop starting, it tells you when people are coming in remote, whether it's VPN or RAS or whatever they're using. It tells you all about the files that have been dropped on the server, PowerShell scripts that are running, it tells you the times, it tells you whether they have permission or not. If you can piece together the story between application, system and security, and then find the sub-level that applies to what you're looking at, the event log is a marvelous tool. The event log is so undersold. If anything, between Google and the event log, you've got everything you need to track these things down. Maybe not to repair them, you do still need third-party tools to get some of these things out, but to actually track what's going on, this is all you need. And this day and age, an engineer who can't solve an IT problem because they don't know about the event log, it's an embarrassment. So get some time together, sit down with your own machine. This is a server, obviously, but do it on your own Windows workstation. Sit down with your event log, have a play, have a look, get familiar with these sub keys underneath here. I would take particular attention on a server to Terminal Services Gateway or Remote Desktop Gateway, depending on the version of server. I'd be paying particular attention to the types of logs you see in security, get to know what's normal and what's not normal. They're slightly different in security. The codes are not the same when you go to filter the event log. You can't filter exactly the same way, but the information is there for you to look at and play with. The information is there, so the event log is your friend. Use it. Thanks for joining me. I hope that's been a good overview of a tool that you knew existed, but you may not have played with and didn't know the power of. The number one tool that I use for solving anything or beginning the solution is to find the errors, and it is the event log. Use it or forget it exists, and one day it may not, and you need it.